5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm John Miglosh for the Wisconsin DMA and the International Society for Strategic Marketing. Okay, I just want to start off with a fun deal from Home Depot because I learned a lot. Oops. Go back and start again.
Rent the right tools for a new project. Snap a picture to start shopping and shop the store without wandering the aisles. You won't find a toolbox like this anywhere else. Tackle more fall projects with the Home Depot. How doers get more done.
That was pretty good. I like that. I learned a lot from that. I noticed that they have an app to navigate the store, which I've been after for years. I've been saying I need more GPS in a big box store than I do getting there. That's the easy part. Okay, so let's dig in. I'm always following QR codes. I know it sounds silly. I'm a boomer. But the QR thing made so much sense to me back in the day. And it still makes sense because you're linking the physical world with the virtual world, right? Makes perfect sense. Now, because of the pandemic and social distancing and not wanting to touch stuff, restaurants have been putting them on their menus all of a sudden, because people have the smartphones and they can click off the menu, and you could have a throwaway menu, and all of a sudden you can order right there without even having to talk to anybody pretty much. I'm not sure. None of the restaurants I go to worry too much about it, I have to say. But Land's End, and I talked to the creative director there a couple of weeks ago and asked him, well, he didn't actually share anything about how the QR codes are going. But I said I'd be watching, and on the back cover, I got 2 catalogs the other day, probably because I don't check the mail just every day. But I got 2 catalogs, and both had QR codes on the back cover. So they may just be testing. It's hard to say. But if they are, they're continuing to test it. I don't see it invading the full bulk of the catalog. But if you're doing mailings and you're trying to drive traffic to your website or your phone app or something else, something digital, I highly encourage you to put a QR code on, at least as a test basis. Some of them you can actually do inkjet with high enough resolution to put it on there, but at worst it's a black plate change, and oftentimes you can find a clear enough spot without redesigning anything in the 4-color, and so you just change the black plate. You run a bunch with the QR code, and then you take an eraser to the plate. You don't even have to change the plate. We used to do that. We used to erase our way back on key code numbers, 9876554, and we just erase, and it would show the whole string, and then you just erase, and then you just erase, and you go back, and you do every 10% or something. I hope you're learning something new every day. Okay, Amazon got approval for their drone trial, commercial flights. And a lot of times these are just in little areas somewhere, but they're going to have constant human observation, and when they drop a box on somebody's head, that might get some pushback. The main article I wanted to look at today was this one. This is from TechCrunch, and I visit them every day, but I don't, a lot of it's really techie stuff. But this is an opinion, and by Simon Moss, looks like, and he's the CEO of Symphony, and I can't pronounce that one, ASDAI, it looks like. Anyway, an enterprise of artificial intelligence for financial services. We've always stayed away from financial services my whole career because the banks didn't have a really good way to build a labeled data set, flat out, right? So they might mail a lot, and they might promote a service, and you could tell who signed up. But beyond that, they just didn't have the capability of tracking it diligently. And without a labeled data set, you're kind of shooting in the dark. And I've done many sessions on that. That's what what makes direct mail so powerful is that it bakes in a labeled data set if you're selling basically an item that's going to ship to the house. Now, if you're taking the order and you're basically coming into a bank or a retail store and saying, this is what I want, unless you urge consumers to either click the QR code or have a, bring the coupon with you, it's very difficult to get that label data set. You can tell who redeems it. You can tell who ordered as a result, but it's hard to tell who saw it, and that's the kicker. You need both pieces. So anyway, a lot of fintech evangelists suggest that banks just move way too slow for technology, and because of that, they can't be expected to adapt to the future. And because they're so slow, instead they're saying, let's create our own challenger banks. As I said, it's a very, very thoughtful article. But old school financiers aren't dumb. Most know the buy versus build choice in fintech is a false choice. And the reason I like this article so much is because it applies so well to marketing. This is not really even a marketing article at all. And that's what I hope to bring you on this show every day, is things that apply and have wisdom, but may not be in the explicit marketing trades. Okay, so banks have a smart way of finding a path down the middle, and this build versus buy. The idea is, should we hire, Google or Quad Data Services or somebody? Should we hire them to handle all our circulation? Hey, that was nice. A light bulb went by. Or handle all their circulation. Feel free to comment. Say something. I am watching barely. Should we outsource our AI, or should we try to build it ourselves? And Simon says that banks have a really good handle on smart. They've been around a long time. Banks have domain expertise, and I believe that means banks know banking. And there's something valuable about that. Catalogers know cataloging, right? And retailers may know retail, right? And so you need that base to do good AI, because otherwise you can't tell if your AI sort of resonates with, if the data resonates with some cultural and tradition and other knowledge base where it just makes sense. Like when I first started doing machine learning, we ran the Cabela's model for fishing, and recency didn't even turn up. And I didn't know much about modeling. I called my friend Tim Mabey, who has a PhD in statistics, and he said, if recency didn't turn up, you probably lost your marbles here. You're not doing this right. And this was literally our first real model, and we were going to pull 5 million names with it. That'll keep you up at night. Anyway, but I did know fishing. I was raised, I can remember some of my earliest memories were out on our pier with my grandfather, who was in a wheelchair, and we were fishing, and I had a cane pole, and I was catching bluegills that I could barely hoist up. I was probably 5 years old. It wasn't more than 6, because we moved when I was 6 from that place. So I could barely hoist these bluegills out of the water. They were so big, the kind big as your hand, if you know bluegills. Nothing better than fresh fried bluegills. Anyway, so I knew fishing, and I thought about what was going on. We were pulling the fishermen, but we were pulling them in December. Now, who's the most recent buyers in December? It's the hunters. And that's why recency didn't work. You see, that body of knowledge, the body of knowledge about the seasons, told me that we were right, even though a PhD statistician said we had to be wrong. You see the importance of that? So you need that knowledge. You do need to have a good feel of what's going on. You need to try to push it. One of the professors at UCLA, I worked a little bit on his book and just reformatting it for him. And we talked for about an hour one time. And Ed Lemur, I think his name is. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. But anyway, real smart guy, PhD and professor of statistics and other things at UCLA, I believe. And one of my clients had told me that my my approach to modeling violated all the rules of statistical analysis. And I was kind of hurt by that, even though I'd never really studied statistics per se. I did take a course after that and found out that most of statistics was getting a valid sample set. Now, when you're working with mail files of millions of names, we got one today that we're working with, some million plus, it's not a big deal to have a statistical confidence factor that's very, very solid. So it's not exactly statistics that we're doing in machine learning. We're past that because it's not destructive. There isn't a cost like there isn't surveys or in testing potatoes or something. So anyway, Ed said you don't violate statistical principles. You seek to understand, and that elevates the statistical principles. Okay, that was nice, Ed. That was very nice. It made me feel better. Anyway, banks are not reluctant to buy because they don't value enterprise artificial intelligence. They're reluctant because they value it too much. And what this basically goes on to say is that banks really want to own it. They don't like the idea of just putting it in the cloud, using the off-the-shelf statistical tools and hiring some consultants that have worked with 100 other banks and build them the same stuff. Because where's the competitive advantage in that? And one of the things that, my intro to my book, I'm not going to read it for you, but my intro to my book, Spinning Strong to Gold, talks about how the real strategic tools, the strategic advantage comes in the battle-tested tools that aren't really ready, that are right on the edge. And that's where machine learning is today. So it makes sense to want to own it, and it makes sense to want to understand it. Both of those things are reasons the banks have gone slow. Now, the trouble is that they haven't just gone slow. If you don't know the business well, you're wasting your money. AI multiplies your business knowledge and your creativity. But literally, they have spent a fortune on stuff called AI, and it hasn't always worked. They become enmeshed in huge consulting projects, and it's over and over and over. We see people who, come to us after they've spent millions of dollars and say, we never got any lift, or it worked. It looked good on paper, but it didn't work when we actually used it for the marketing. That's so common because oftentimes the people building it, hello from Arizona, the people building it are not enmeshed in that industry. They don't have a good base of both the industry of direct mail, for example, or cataloging, for example, but also the industry that you're working on. I usually try to go learn the business. So when I did work for Horse and Rider and Equus, I took riding lessons. I'm like a character actor statistician. That's crazy, right? Okay, so legacy bankers want to listen to their data scientists and on questions and challenges rather than pay for more external fintech vendor to answer or solve them. And that's a good idea. Why should they pay for financial tech, and this could be marketing tech services that they can't own 100%? The problem is that a bank is not designed to stimulate creativity. And this is a really good point, because when we used to sell our box and we just put it in the client's office and they could do their own circulation, they could own it, they could hire people to run it. And the funny thing is they didn't build new variables. And we're always building new variables. We're always pushing our clients a little harder. But it's a partnership, and that's the thing that I think this article gets at. You have to have a partnership. The danger is to spend too much time learning how to do it yourself and missing the boat as everyone else moves ahead. And not everybody's moving ahead, I can tell you that. It also puts pressure on your data scientists and engineers, which leads to technical debt, which means, Gartner says 87% of AI projects never get to ROI. So you want to get something. You want to work with somebody that can get you to ROI right away, okay? Success, and this is the greatest. Look at this. Have you ever seen this in an article? It's a bit of a dull answer. What's the right model? Success comes from humility. It needs an understanding that big problems are solved with creative teams, each understanding what they bring. So, here's how it works. I'm the guide. We have a system that's bulletproof. It's worked for major mailers, and there's an advantage on working with mail. It works with people that are used to tracking results for 25 years. So when we build a model, we know who saw and we know who bought, and we have that labeled data set. We also have a system that's mailed literally hundreds of drops, and so you don't have to worry about some programmer recreating the thing from scratch and accidentally pulling the opposite names. I remember hearing about an Apple promotion where they decided to offer Apple credit cards at their stores to design companies. And Apple was a little suspicious of it and said, not all creative companies have any money. So we may not want to just send them a $15,000 credit card to go buy the next fancy Mac Pro or whatever. And so the marketing company said, well, we'll use the credit score, the D&B, and we'll incorporate that into the model, and we'll only mail the really credit-worthy people. Except, they had good news and they had bad news. The good news is they got incredible results. They got incredible response. The machinery just flew off the shelves from this promotion. The bad news was they mailed the people with the worst credit instead of the best. I have lots of these stories. I only share one at a time. Okay, so you need humility, and in MarTech it's even more crucial because marketing is predicting the future. Honestly, it's predicting the future. Accounting and finance is mostly tidying up the past and seeing what happened. Marketing needs both because in order to predict the future, you kind of got to understand the present. Anyway, so marketing is extremely difficult. There's really no predictive modeling. It's just really careful historical analysis with a view toward the future. So humility is the key. So we work with you. We bring a bulletproof system. We bring an old guy that has some experience in probably building thousands of models in a wide array of industries. But it really is on you to work with us. And we have some great partners right now. We have some great companies. I have never had such a great time working with companies who want to learn. So if your people want to learn and they want hands-on, we'll be there. We'll coach them along. But it's on you to understand what's going on, and you need to understand it. But fortunately, we also bring a system that is fully transparent. It's great. So this was a great article, and I was really inspired by it. And I'm going to reach out to Simon, and I'll put a link in the comments below. Have a great day. Like and share. Your friends will know you're smart. Bye-bye.